All right, welcome back to the final episode of Book Nook Brews for the Sanctuary of the Shadow book, where we're gonna do the final.
Couple chapters 24 through the epilogue. It's like 4 chapters overall.
Yeah, and then our first ever
Brews
Brews review,
review.
which we'll get into in a bit. Today's little brew that we have on the side.
Which I know we forgot in the past too. I swear we had something to drink,
Yes.
and I would always
Just-
remember
yeah.
that we forget to talk about it. I'm like, what's the point of brews? We need to talk about
Yeah.
it.
But don't worry, like, every episode we don't mention it, just know we have something. We just are forgetful people. But we'll get better at that because that's the whole point of Book Nook Brews. Just know it's either a beer or coffee. Right now, it is coffee.
Brought to you by me.
Yeah.
I made us some little lattes.
She's
using-
the barista. I'm the bartender.
Yeah.
Best of both worlds.
I did it with the little espresso machine you got me for Christmas, like what,
2 years ago.
2 years ago?
Yeah.
2 years ago. Yeah. The little frother thing doesn't work, but at least the espresso part does.
Yeah.
And it's like my little starter one. Eventually we'll get to the big boy ones.
Yeah.
But I put us a nice little espresso shot, some lactose free milk because your boy cannot tolerate lactose.
Yeah.
And then
I'm
our
pooping.
creamer.
You know how I be.
And I added some creamer to it, but yeah, it turns out good.
Yeah.
So not so bad. I think
Yeah.
I think I did a nice job.
Yeah. Really
Take a
good.
nice little sip.
But yeah, first ever Brews final review where we're gonna be rating the book in different sections, which we'll go over later, with an overall rating at the end as well. And yeah, but I mean, I do also want to say, no matter what our rating is, if you want to read the book, go for it. That is completely up to you. Like, even if our ratings are bad or really good, which
It's
like
still
for any
something
book,
up for you to decide.
yeah, like it literally, and I think this for movies and stuff too. I don't pay attention to reviews that much. Go figure it out for yourself, because like we said in the first episode, we're two different types of readers,
Right.
but those are not the only two types of readers that there are. There's an infinite amount of types of readers. So who knows? Maybe a book like this isn't up your alley, but then you hear about it, you read it, and it is. Just because it's not up my alley, her alley, or it is up our alleys, whatever. It's up to you to determine for yourself. So just a little disclaimer for it being the first one, and then from here on out, no matter what we rate it, go try it out for yourself. We encourage that. That way you also read it, have your opinions, but then can compare it to ours, or
Exactly.
have a little chat.
I mean, that's literally the point of this book club, is to just talk about books.
Yeah.
It's not always going to be a hit for us. It may not always be a hit for you, but it will be for us.
Yeah.
That's the point of it. It's to just talk about books and hear what other people are thinking about it.
Yeah.
Just so you can kind of get some ideas, per se.
And what I would like to do in the future maybe is have like a subreddit for it, or like a type of forum
Yeah.
where we can have people go
Discord
in.
too.
Yeah, Discord, where we can have people go in, make sure we're like, hey, no spoilers, like for people that are reading it. Just
Right.
focus on the chapters that we're talking about this week.
True. Oh, yeah.
So, and then
Work
that
on
way, maybe, I don't know, maybe in the future we can even read some from the previous chapters that we put out, or something like that, like
That would be
comments,
nice.
stuff we agree
No,
with.
I like that.
So, yeah, but
We'll talk about different ones, because it could be a Reddit, or we could do a Discord. I feel like maybe a Discord would be nice, because it's a nice little compact community
Yeah.
for us. But, we'll see.
yeah, we'll see.
But as always, there are spoilers.
Yeah.
And let's get into the chapters.
Yeah. Let's do that recap.
All right, let's start off with chapter 24. It starts off with a 6-month time skip. So Haru seeks the water's help to decide where to go, and her thoughts to start heading towards the south was right on track. As her travels begin to the desert, she crosses different territories and wilderness, which she also crosses Fury's territory. And I have something I want to mention about that, but we'll get to that later. So as she's traveling towards the desert, then it switches back over to Wraith's point of view. He's back in the desert, and it seems familiar to him, yet he isn't sure how or why he's there. So he has no memories of how he got there, but it all seems familiar to him. He's weak and feels like he lost something precious and or something that he treasured. And then a beautiful voice starts to call out to him, yelling, Wraith. Then it switches back over to Haru's point of view. She starts running towards Wraith and keeps calling out to him, but he doesn't respond. As she's giving him water and telling him that he's safe, he asks her, who are you? And then it switches over to them being back in Haru's caravan, and she tells Wraith a partial truth about his past, which I'm going to call this the second past, because the first past is when he was a Wraith and was doing like Fury's doing. And then the second past is with Haru and their little venture. But essentially, Haru tells Wraith that they were in love, or well, that she loves him and is sure that he loved her before his memories were wiped away. Wraith tells her that when he woke up, he felt like something important was missing and that it must be her. And then they kiss. Chapter 25 starts off with a very steamy moment, and Wraith thinks to himself that he loves her. Then they fall asleep, and Wraith starts to have a nightmare about Haru and her blood on his hands. As they're sleeping, Daria reaches out to Haru in her sleep and tells her that Wraith is having a nightmare about accidentally killing her, and she thinks it's time to restore all of his memories. Haru at first agrees and then asks Daria to make about Daria's time making him another body. Daria tells Haru that she and Wraith bonded over those 6 months and that Haru chose a great mate. Daria thinks, not Daria. Haru thanks Daria and then tells her to rest. However, Daria tells her, we go up against my sister soon. With any luck, we'll be successful. I'll rest then. Chapter 26. And I believe that's the last chapter before we get to the epilogue. So let's get to that. They both wake up from their sleep, and Wraith is feeling very regretful for what he did to Haru and doesn't understand how she still came back to him / wants to be with him. Haru tells Wraith that she forgives him and understands that this wasn't his doing, but rather Fury making him vow to do all those horrific things. Wraith is scared that Fury can control him, and Haru tells him not to worry about that and that Daria will figure out a way to stop her, and that she trusts Wraith to not hurt or kill her. Wraith then formally apologizes to Haru for everything he has done, and Haru accepts his apology and forgives him. Then another steamy moment happens, and after they have sex, Wraith agrees that he has to accept the past to move forward. Then 1 week later, Haru does a little bit of scrying, and guess what? She's pregnant with a baby girl. And then we head to the epilogue. In the epilogue, the two rejoin the circus. They have a baby girl, and they named her Melora. Salazar apologizes to Wraith, and they mend the hard feelings between them. And in the end, they have a cute family picnic moment. And that is exactly how the story ends. Your thoughts, good sir?
Waste of my time.
I knew you were not going to like the ending because I felt it was so rushed.
There was nothing in those last, 3-4 chapters that make me think that was worth it. If anything, it made me wish the book never happened. Like it's like it ended the worst possible way it could have.
I knew you were not gonna like. Who's like, and then she got pregnant 1 week later.
No, but I knew that from the last episode, because remember it ended with, I think it was it Nashira or Daria that told Harrow congratulations, and she's like, for what? And she just disappeared.
Oh,
and Harrow was back in her room.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, as soon as she said congratulations,
so
and she's like, for what? I'm like, bitch, you're gonna be pregnant, and this is how it's gonna fucking go. And I just wanted to see how they were gonna fucking do it. And
which apparently they conceived
on the first day that they fucking saw each other again,
which was chapter 25, where Wraith has literally no idea who she is, and he thought that he loved her.
Yeah, like,
briefly,
something about your voice and the way you were screaming my name, I just knew. Like, bro, no, you didn't. You don't even know where you are.
You're just horny and you want to get some. That's what it seems like to me. I think that's what I mentioned, because let me see. So I put, yeah. So in chapter 25, when Wraith thinks to himself that he loves her, I put like a little asterisk for my thoughts, and I put crazy dude. And he said it himself. Was it ridiculous for a man whose entire memory spanned the length of several hours? Maybe. Did he care? At that moment, not in the least. Which again, it's like, after you come down from that high, realistically, do you actually love her?
I just, I don't know. It pissed me off as I was reading it, because it was like, that is 3 times now where it's like he's changed back to, so it was when we first met him, he had his memories wiped, whatever, right? And then
when Fury changed it back into a wraith.
Yeah, changed it back into a wraith. And now here
he has a new body.
Back, new body. But this was technically twice, because he was there without his memories and then again with his memories after Daria put them back. During all those times, it was said something along the lines of love, right? Like, Harrow kissed him as soon as he escaped, without him knowing anything, without them knowing each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
When Fury turned him back into a wraith and they were fighting, she was like, kill me, slay. I'm in love with you, but you can kill me. And then now this time, she was telling him how they were in love with each other when he had no memory. And then again, when he had memories. It's like all of this memory wiping and all that stuff. And it's just the power of love that's keeping them together. Like, that's...
I don't really like how the romance is done in this. It just doesn't seem very put together. And like another thing that shows where I feel like and we'll get into this in the Brews review, but I feel like there's so many gaps or things that don't make quite sense. And let me just explain like one of those things that makes sense, like doesn't make sense. When she was crossing the territories, did you notice that they said that she crossed Fury's territory? Did you read that?
I think I remember that.
Right? My thing is, she crosses Fury's territory, but how does Fury not want to go after her? She literally sent Wraith to go get her and kill her and bring her back to her, if I remember correctly. And now she's just able to cross Fury's territory without any issues.
And then it's like she would know, like after Daria took Wraith from that whole fight with Harrow.
Right?
Wouldn't she know that Daria took him? Like, don't they know about each other's like powers and what they're doing and all that stuff? Mm-hmm. And then after that moment, we just don't hear about Fury again, other than Daria and Nashira are plotting against her. Yeah, that's the last thing we hear about her.
Yeah, and like Daria also tells her that that she'll rest like after
when all that is
they
done.
fought her sister,
Yeah.
which I wanted to tell you. So I know I asked you if you went over the acknowledgments and you told me you didn't.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something I learned in the acknowledgments.
Okay.
There will be a second book.
God damn it.
The second book is where Mal returns to her homeland. So we get to learn more about Mal there. But at the same time,
We're talking about Malika?
Malika, yeah.
Okay, because they call her their daughter Melora, but they calling her Mal for short too, no?
Oh, Melora?
Yeah.
Oh, I just kept on running Melora.
I thought I saw them
So they call her Mel?
like Little Mel.
Little Mel.
I thought
Possibly.
at the end.
So
that's where I was like, oh, are they bringing the baby back to the circus? Like, what homeland? But I guess it's...
No, it's Mal.
Yeah.
She's going back to her homeland, which when Haro was going to the desert, she also crossed Mal's like homeland, and she said that, oh, it looks so terrible, things have changed, and she felt like sad and whatnot. But yeah, I figured you weren't gonna like the ending.
Yeah.
I felt like it was rushed too. It's like, oh, they reconnect. Obviously, they're gonna have sex, and then she finds out that she's pregnant.
Twice.
Like, I don't know. Personally, if you're gonna include a pregnancy, I don't know. I don't know if I like it like on the last chapter, or maybe I prefer in the epilogue, because I feel like I usually see in the epilogue if a couple have a baby. But I guess that makes it more repetitive, or like, oh yeah, I don't know. I just didn't think it would make sense for Wraith and Haro to have a baby.
Yeah,
It's like, you guys don't have anything.
Not only that, the thing that pisses me off is Wraith ended your fucking bloodline, and now you're continuing your bloodline with a Wraith, with the same one that did it.
But
and they say, oh, his memories are wiped. That's not him anymore. It's still fucking him.
And he said it too, that in order for him to like move past it, he has to accept his past. And listen, I don't think I would have mind her getting like with Wraith if there was an actual healing process, or if it made sense. Because all I got was Nashira just essentially guilt tripping Haro to being with Wraith. And I'm like, dude, what?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like
it's like, healing process or not, the dude still killed your mom, your dad, your uncles, aunts, your friends, all of that.
We don't know her dad.
Well, we won't.
Yeah.
That's
like,
and all thanks to Wraith. So and now they're gonna have a kid,
a baby Wraith, baby Wraith seer. I knew it. I'm like, I can't believe it. I'm not a fan of how it ended. There's so many gaps, and I get that there's going to be a second book about Mal, but are we even like in that second book? Are we going to get anything about the queens? Are we going to, there's so much missing here for me. And I guess I'll go a little bit more in depth when we get to like the Brews review, but I just wanted to know your thoughts on these last 4 chapters. Did you have fun?
No. Like I said, to summarize the last 4 chapters, it made me mad. It felt like a waste of my time. Because it ended how I said they would, or how we both said they would. They were going to end up together.
Yeah.
Right? Then she went and made it worse. They ended up together and with a baby.
And like so close. They literally have nothing. Like, give them some time to heal as a couple and develop as a couple before you bring a kid into this. Like, yeah. I feel this way even in the real world. Like, before you bring a kid into your relationship, make sure you have all your shit figured out. Yeah. Right now, you're just like kind of going with the flow. Like, the reason why they returned to the circus is because she was on the side doing fortune telling, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
like to get some extra side money for them to get by.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, they just Wraith kind of pushed or told like Cairo, yeah, we should return to the circus and whatnot.
Yep.
It'll be a lot safer environment, steady job or whatever. And so they do. But it's like you have a
Yeah.
why just why?
And I also don't like the 2 time jumps. Like, we're just gonna skip past 6 months, right, where she was just traveling, waiting for him, basically.
Yeah.
And then we skip a year. And then it's like that's a lot.
That's so much storytelling
that's
that
2
could
time
have
jumps in
happened.
4 chapters.
Mm-hmm.
And it's at the end. I did not enjoy that.
I feel like a good time jump is having one towards the end. Usually there's a time jump in the epilogue. Makes sense because it's the epilogue. And then sometimes like a nice time skip would have been like in the middle of the book or some point between, some point in the middle of the book. A nice time jump when it makes sense, feels good. But towards the very end, and then the book ends like 2 chapters afterwards, there's just not much build up from there. It just
like at that point it should have been the epilogue from there.
True, yeah. Honestly,
or the last 4 chapters have been the epilogue.
Yeah, okay. Actually, I think you bring up a good point. I think the epilogue should have been chapter 24.
Yeah.
Chapter 24 should have been the epilogue. They kiss, whatever. Like, they meet each other, they reconcile, and you can like almost leave it as an open ending for you to figure out like if they end up together or not. I think that probably would have been the best ending.
But I think that would have pissed a lot of
wouldn't
people
open
off.
up the avenue for a second book. But what were you going to say?
I think that would end up like pissing people off. A lot of people don't like open endings, especially like in movies and stuff too. I'm a fan of those. Like, my favorite movie is Inception, right? And the way it ended like that, where it leaves you to decide how you want to see it end, right? Or like in Dark Knight Rises, where at the end, I'm not going to say anything in case people haven't seen it. It's been a long time, but just in case, they leave it to your interpretation.
Right.
And a lot of people don't like that. They want an ending, right? They don't want to be left thinking or anything. I love those kinds of movies, which is why Nolan is one of my favorite directors. That's besides the point. That is, they always leave you like that, thinking for your interpretation. A lot of people don't like that, and I think especially in books, they want the closure, I guess. And I feel like if she did that here, it would have pissed a lot of people off.
Well, and you know what? I will say I want to say you're right. Maybe you're right in the case of me as the reader I am. I don't like open endings. I'll tolerate them because some people do it very nicely. But I feel that in this book, I think it was needed. Since I don't like the way it ended, I feel that this book would have been great if it ended off with an open ending, like leaving chapter 24, like rewrite just a little bit and have that be the way it ends. But again, that may not even leave it open for a second book, which she already has planned.
And I think that's funny because I just went on a whole spiel of how I like open endings. But I feel like if this book ended with an open ending, I wouldn't have, it would have made me even more mad.
What?
Because if it ended with me not knowing something, when I'm already like,
not knowing,
bro, what is going on in this book? I don't like it. And it ends off like that. I'm gonna be like, where is this? Where is that? I'm already saying that. So an open ending, I think, would have been worse. Now, had the book been written a different way, I think maybe an open ending would have been fine. And maybe I wouldn't even think about a second book. Like, if you're going to do something with an open ending, leave it at that. Because that's the whole point of an open ending. Leave it to the person, to the viewer, to the reader's interpretation, and that's that. Don't give them an answer ever.
Yeah.
Right? But in this case, I think a second book is needed. Not, well, am I going to read it? Probably not. But I think it's needed, right?
No, yeah. No, I for sure agree that a second book is needed. However, with the way that this book went and with the second book being about Mal and her returning to her homeland, I just don't see how that, like, a lot of our answers are going to be answered in the second book.
I don't think they are. I think what is going to happen here is this is that first book. The second book is going to be the Mal spinoff. And then the third book is going to go back to Harrow.
Oh, you think there's going to be a third book?
I think it's going to be a series, right? And I think it's going to be like a TV series or something too. Like they're going to release this first season of this, then they're going to go work on the spinoff really quick. Then season 2 is going to release of this. So like that way with that spinoff, you have something else, something to keep you there.
I don't think that's how the book world works. I'll be honest with you. There is no way you're going to start off with one character, go to another, and then return back to that main character. No. In books, either you have a series with that first character, with Harrow being your main character, all three, or it's just different. You're going to have the main book and then spinoffs. Yeah. That's what it's like. Because right now, it just seems like this is... Sure, you can make it like a series where every book is a new character. However, what's going to be the third character? There's no third character. Unless you're going to take it back to where it's Melora, Harrow's, kid. Sure. But I just don't see how this can develop into more. You didn't really you didn't really talk too much about the queens and build that up. There seems too many gaps that I feel like could have been answered within the first book if you had given it time, and then you can potentially trail it into the next one. Yeah. But that just is not done here. I don't see how it could be. No. Because if you're going to have a battle between the queens, the best time to have that first initial battle would have been in this book. Yep. So I feel that the second book, like I said, it's going to be Mal going to her homeland. She's going to find romance there, and that's it. You're probably not going to figure out too much more, or probably not going to know much more about the queens. Yeah. All right. Let's get into our first ever Brews review.
Yeah. So Brews is, BREWS, but we made it into an acronym for us to be able to
talk about
to rate it in those different sections. So Brews stands for the B for book characters, what we think about them. We're going to express our opinions about all of these, but at the end of the day, they're going to be rated out of 5 stars each. Yes. And then we're going to have the overall average rating of the book based off of that. So B is for book characters. R is for relatability. E, experience/enjoyment. W for writing style. And S for storyline. Like I said, we're going to rate all those out of 5 and then make up our average overall rating for the book.
And then say if we would recommend this or not. But again, it's like, will we recommend it? Will we not recommend it? But there's always a reader out there where this book could very well be right up their alley. Right. So
I think at the end of the day, we're always going to recommend it. But we'll say if we recommend it to reader. Yeah.
Alrighty. So let's start off with B, book characters. The way I did this is I essentially created a little list of all the characters and kind of said my little thing. So let's start with our main character, obviously, Harrow. I'll be honest, I don't really like her. No. She's too stubborn, annoyingly stubborn, if I may say. She doesn't really make any sense and goes with whatever someone tells her to do. like, so there are certain moments where yes, she takes charge in what she wants to do, but there are many things, especially like when the queens are getting involved, she's like, oh yeah, but wait, no. She's very back and forth, and I don't know, there's something about it. I feel like her bond with the water could have been developed to something so much more, and this is something I'll bring down later, but she brings up the water this and the water that. I just truly felt like there was no connection at some point.
Like at this point, it felt like the water was just her gut instinct.
Yeah.
Like it's just another word for it.
Exactly. No, and that's a great way to describe it. It's just like her gut instinct. And I really felt like Haro was just flat and overall irritating.
Yeah.
And I haven't disliked a main character in a while. And that's unfortunate. I can't get behind Haro in this. Yeah. I don't know. Like I'm a little bit more in tune with Malika, which I feel like she's the only girl, or not the only girl, but the only character with some sense, her and Salazar maybe.
Yeah.
And even then, like their friendship, I don't feel like I never felt like there was a true connection. And I feel like that's my issue with a lot of these characters. I don't feel a true connection to them.
Yeah.
I felt very distant to them, and I didn't really feel like they came to life per se.
Right.
That I feel like that's overall my biggest issue. So with Malika, I really enjoyed her as a character. Yeah. I felt like she kind of brought down Haro when she was not really thinking in the right way.
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to tell him that you love him? Like, why are you running away with someone you just met? Like, she would bring the more reason, and then Haro would just like, oh yeah, but no, she kind of goes back to her own way of thinking. But I also, again, just feel like their friendship was never, they just seem like friends and nothing more. Like it's such a superficial friendship that I also don't feel like they're like the bestest of friends in the way that they were described.
Like at the end in the last chapter, Wraith tells Haro that Mal is her sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and it's like, didn't we really get to that point?
Yeah, sure they were close, but I just you never get that closeness. You never feel that they were actually close. Yeah. You're told, but you don't really feel. I feel like that's the issue. I felt like I was told so many things, but I never actually got to see it.
Yeah.
And that's something that we'll get to, or I'll mention a little bit in like the writing style, or the writing style, is I felt like I was told a lot of things. And if there's something about books, is there has to be a nice balance between telling the reader and showing them.
Right.
What you want to do in a book is show the reader.
Right.
So that way they can feel it and build that connection. And I felt like I was just told a bunch of things.
Yeah, it was like, oh, I promise you these people are close. Just read it with that in mind.
And it's like, no, I need that. Exactly. It's like, I need to feel that.
Yeah.
And so that was that. With Wraith, I wish there was more character development for him.
Yeah, it's literally just him getting brainwashed back and forth.
Yeah. No, and that's the truth. I feel like the little bit that he actually started to develop as a character was the end. When he had that moment, it's like, in order to go forward in life, I have to accept my past.
Yeah.
And, he just also felt very flat. I have something I have to say about Salazar.
Okay.
I'm sorry I disliked you at first, but I'm here to formally apologize and say thank you for everything you have done for the elementals. Yeah. And now, can you actually knock some sense into Haro? Because what the actual fuck?
Yeah.
But I feel like he's probably the only character that you actually feel a little bit of a connection to, almost. Just
because of that whole thing that we've always been talking about, like him having a soft spot, not like soft spot, but like caring about his people, like that. And I think that takes me into the next little thing on the Brews thing, but I'm not gonna say it yet. It's just like he would stop at nothing to help those around him.
Yeah.
I feel like that is what kind of made us like him. Like, like
Yeah.
in the first episode, I think we said he was all right. Like he was just kind of there. He looked cool or he sounded cool, but there
Or
was,
he sounded mean,
yeah,
or he was maybe the evil character. And no,
yeah. And no, we ended up liking
he's so
him a lot.
genuine.
Yeah. And I feel like that's a perfect example of, or I guess the reverse of how we feel about the other characters. Because
Yeah.
it's like, even though we didn't really get much time with him, you showed us something of him that was more than just Harrow's stubbornness or Mal just trying to knock sense into her
Mm-hmm.
or Wraith getting brainwashed and then is like, oh, wait, like having that existential crisis.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you showed us a part of him, like personally. And even though it
Yeah.
wasn't that much, you could see it in all of his actions,
Exactly.
you know?
And it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
I feel like him as a character, he's probably the one that that actually shined the most.
Yeah. And I feel like it's because he wasn't mentioned that much.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the part that's like, dang. Because it's like his character is well done,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like the reason the others went downhill was because their stuff like dragged out.
Yeah.
Right, like basically what I'm trying to say is Salazar is a good character in this because he wasn't mentioned a lot. But had he been a main character, I think he would
A
have
lot
been
of
ruined.
his qualities probably would have been
Exactly.
over. Yeah, I get that. I don't know. He's very much a prominent character, but there were parts where you just, you don't find out about him because it's just focusing on Harrow and Wraith and
Right.
whatnot. But overall, Salazar is probably one of the most developed characters in the story.
Yeah.
Going on to the last three characters I mentioned, and I guess the queens can just overall be one. Out of all the queens, the one I enjoyed the most was Daria. I feel like she's also another complex character that I actually enjoyed. She's flawed and has done terrible things, but for a cause.
Yeah.
She did it for a reason. And granted, a lot of people do, but for her, I don't know, it just made sense. And again, all these queens suck and are self-centered, as I'm sure that's how they're written to be, because everyone overall knows that they're just all for themselves.
Yeah.
But Daria, again, she was the most enjoyable to get to know. And she acknowledges her mistakes and does a lot to make amends with Harrow for how absent and horrible she has been to her. But she's another character I would say that right up there with Salazar is also fairly well developed.
And I
liked her.
I liked at the end where she was telling Harrow, she's like, I've done terrible things, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I've done terrible things and I know I can't erase them, but I can try to make amends for them. Like that. I was like, damn, bar, bro.
Yeah, I really liked her. Queen Fury, not too much on her. She's supposed to be like the villain in this story, right?
Who? Fury?
Yeah, Queen Fury.
Yeah. I guess, essentially. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, we know she did horrible things, and that's the extent. She has done terrible things, and we only get a few pages on her, but she doesn't really give me villain vibes. She's more of a character who did horrific things, and she's just pathetic. Like the way that Wraith saw her in that one moment, her moment, I guess, of weakness.
Like,
She's just pathetic. I don't like her.
It's more so just trying to get revenge for them killing her lover.
Yeah.
Rather than her being a villain or anything. Like,
She's not that.
like if anything, I feel like the villain of the book was Wraith when he turned into a Wraith, like the shadow. Like, and that's because Fury made him that way. So I guess you could argue Fury is the villain. But is that like at the same time, she didn't do anything that was really villainous other than turn him back.
Yeah,
and try to go for Harrow. But it's like you singled her out. Like, you want to go for Harrow. That's revenge. Like,
that's what is catching me a little bit off guard is in fantasy. Sure, in like a regular book, like let's say in a romantic fiction book, let me just use Book Lovers by Emily Henry as an example.
Okay.
It's two characters who are who are going through troubles in their lives and find each other. And like, that's usually how romance goes. But in that book, you don't expect there to be a big bad person to come and destroy their relationship or anything. Sure, there are some stories that have like maybe a third person who's going to try to ruin the relationship, an ex-girlfriend, boyfriend, XYZ. But in a fantasy book, I feel like if there is romance, there has to be a villain. In almost any fantasy book, there has to be a villain. And in this one, I'm just not sure who that is.
Right.
Because Fury, sure, she could be the one who you can call a villain, but she's not very villainesque. I just don't get that from her. She just seems like a bad character who's trying to get revenge. Like you said, I don't know.
And like, while revenge is a good reason to become a villain, I didn't get that from here. I just felt she wanted, like, the only sense of revenge that was like villainy type was when she created all the wraiths and she like destroyed the Seer clan. And like that was villain. From then on, it was literally just trying to get Wraith back, turn him into whatever, and then kill Harrow. That's literally it. Like, that's not like, revenge. That's just going.
You're
for
not
one
even
person.
Going after Harrow throughout the whole book. And that's what I'm just like, doesn't make any sense to me. Like, you could have added more drama with that. I think so. And I guess we can get that into like the storyline and whatnot. But I guess to go on to like the last and final character I wanted to mention was, one last thing. The other queen, Nashira, that we spoke with, she was decent. She was different. Today, tomorrow, and yesterday. She was very different, and she will continue to stay that way today, tomorrow, and yesterday. But let's go on to the next character because she's just there. My last and final one, he's just an honorable mention. It's Oro. I wish I got more of him. All I put is, we want more Oro. That's all. And overall, okay, so those are just all the characters, but overall, my rating for book characters was a 2 out of 5.
2 out of 5?
Yeah,
I had the same thing. 2 out of 5.
Okay. All right. So now we got that. All right. Relatability. I put that there's no relatability here.
So a 1?
I put it as a 1 out of 5. I there was no really.
That's what I did.
I couldn't really relate to any of the characters. Maybe the only two were like Salazar and Queen Daria. But I couldn't relate to the main character. I couldn't relate to Harrow. As we know, she irritated me more than anything. And I just don't understand how you can fall in love with someone without knowing a damn thing about them. Only because the water is telling you and because you like the sex with them. That's pretty much what it seemed like to me. The relatability for me, just a 1 out of 5.
And it probably would have been a 0. Could we put a 0, but we're doing it 1 through 5. And I think like you said, it was Salazar and Daria have qualities that we both can relate to. And that's what I was like mentioning before, where the author showed us that part of Salazar where he'd do whatever it takes to protect his people.
And that really resonates. Like, yes, I like that.
And that's the reason it's like a 1 out of 5, because otherwise, other than that, there's nothing else that you can relate to whatsoever.
Not really. Maybe even just Mal with the kind of friend she is, but
it's like at the same time, I would not stay with a friend that's that stubborn. It's like, oh, you're just going to ignore everything I say, and I have to accept that you're going to do that anyway. It's
true.
Like, nah.
So, we both say 1 out of 5. All right, let's go to E, experience and or enjoyment. I put that the overall experience was okay. It's not a book that I'll be raving about, nor do I think that I would seek other books from this author just from this one book. For me, it's personally just not my cup of tea. This book was missing so much. I thought this book would give us an adventure with a nice, good bit of romance, but I felt like it didn't give me either. It was an okay read. I'm just ready to move forward with the next book. And I will say the sex scenes, I get it. It's for you. Smut is not really something that you enjoy. For me, I thought the sex scenes were okay. I felt like it could have been a little bit more interesting if they had intertwined her connection to the water as they were having sex. Like when you're having sex or when they were having sex, if Haro had mentioned how the water was making her feel or something about her connection to the water, had it been brought up, like I've seen in other stories where you have a connection to something or you have a power, if you are having a very intimate moment with someone, your powers or your connection to the water should have been brought up while you're having sex.
Because like you kind of like let go, and then that's when your powers would take over or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
or even just feel some sort of warmth. And I felt like I felt like that connection to the water could have brought so much more meaning to it and possibly give us an insight to the connection with Wraith, because again, in his body, he is made or had some power or connection to the water from Daria's side.
Yeah.
So you could have kind of brought that in and intermingled it so nicely.
But then again, that goes back to how the connection to the water was just not there. And it was just a gut feeling.
Exactly. And I just feel like I didn't feel any love when they had sex. I just felt that they were having sex and that was it. I felt no moments of like warmth inside, nothing really bubbly. It just like, oh, they're having sex. Okay. But I never felt like there was truly love in there.
Yeah, no. It's just like the only reason that they like it would give you that is because they said it. But even when they said it, it was like,
do you?
No, like it's like even throughout the whole book, like even at the end when they're telling themselves like they love each other and all that stuff, it's like, I don't buy it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's not really that. I think even though it pissed me off,
mm-hmm.
it was like I was still looking forward to reading the next part just to see how much more it would piss me off. So I guess an enjoyment is not really enjoyment, but it's just also like it was fun seeing how much I would get pissed off or seeing if I could guess that I was going to get that pissed off. So while it was like still not good,
mm-hmm.
it was enjoyable. It was an enjoyable experience that it gave.
Yeah.
Right. So I gave it a 2.
I also gave it a 2 out of 5.
So nice. We're 2-1-2.
Okay. We're going, 3 for 3 so far. Nice. All right. Let's get to the writing style. I'll let you start.
So obviously I don't know too much about this section, but
right. I want to hear about it.
What I liked is the third person,
mm-hmm.
how it kept going back and forth and how it stayed being like that. It's not like she gave you that in 1 or 2 chapters and then just
mm-hmm.
whatever. Like, I feel like that was the part that I also liked in the final chapters where Harrow had found Wraith and they were going back and forth between what they were thinking as like she was running to him or whatever. That I enjoyed. I enjoyed throughout the book the third person switch.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else overall, I don't like. There's nothing that kind of
stood out for you or anything.
Yeah, like I don't know if I'm mixing up storyline with writing style, but just the way it was written was just not it for me. Just everything felt rushed. I don't know if that fits into the writing style part, but the only thing I liked about the writing style, I guess, is that third person.
Yeah, and you know what? I also put that. That's something I mentioned is I did like the way she wrote in third person. If there's one thing that made me enjoy what I was reading is how she moved from one point of view to another.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was very seamless.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
As I've said before, I'm not really a fan of books usually written in third person. I don't know why. I guess sometimes there's just a little bit of a disconnection for me. I just felt like at least in this it was fine to read and it made sense with the story as well. Descriptions were okay. They were decent. They were good. They were okay, decent, good. 3 different adjectives, but they were good. Writings of the writing of the characters could have been better. That's something we already talked about.
Yep.
And sex scenes, again, they were fine, but nothing that made me feel bubbly inside. I felt like that's what I was missing so many times. Like, unfortunately, there was not a lot of things that I highlighted from this book. There was no really moment that like, oh, I really like this part. I couldn't really connect to it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I did put for writing style a 3 out of 5
You put
because
3.
of the third person.
I put 2.
2. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, lastly, storyline. I is there any plot?
That
I
other than the love story that apparently happened.
that and you know what? It's like, yes, romance again. Yeah, of course, romance can be a plot in it itself. I just felt like there wasn't really
A storyline to that romance.
Yeah, that okay, yes, there you go. Thank you. You put it in the best words. It's for me it seemed like a girl falls in love with a boy who killed her entire clan and she finds a way to overcome it.
I'm sorry, that's so funny to me. It's like, like if you were to summarize that like you are doing now, it's like he killed her family and now they have a baby. Like that is hilarious to me.
There were some parts of the book that made it seem like something was coming after Haro, but nothing ever did. Like there was a point where Daria said people were coming after Haro, but when? I never saw it. And then the plot to me just didn't seem that like well put together.
Yeah.
There could have been more stories about the Ouroboros gang, the war between the queens, how humans hate elementals, more and like more stories, like more development between Haro and Wraith, and I just felt like we really never got that for the storyline. I just don't really see the storyline here.
Yeah.
I see parts of it, but I also don't see how that makes a story in it itself, I guess.
Right. Like I think Queen Fury should have died in this, like at the end.
Okay.
Whether it had been Wraith killed her for the revenge.
True.
Or we had that war of the queens
Mm-hmm.
and they killed her. Right. Or they just maybe worked it out. I don't know. Maybe she didn't have to die. But something had to happen. Right. Like you're leading this whole book saying the queen, the war of the queens, war of the queens, war of the queens. How she did this to Wraith. Wraith wanted to go kill her. The blade melted. And then he's like, all right, fine, kill me then. You'd think maybe he learned from that and try to go again.
Right.
Right. Or something. But
they just put it all behind.
There is no moment at the end that the whole book led up to.
Yeah.
Other than them being together at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But we knew that from literally the first few chapters. We knew that was going to happen. So it's like kind of like give us something more as well. And no.
I felt like, and I think that's the overall feeling with this book. I wanted more.
Yeah.
Like I wanted more details. I wanted more actual story, more plot. There was so much that was just missing.
Yeah.
So I gave it a 2 out of 5 for storyline.
A 2. I give it a 1.
Yeah.
I didn't really have anything. So it's like you say, it was mainly the romance, but even that didn't have a storyline for it. I mean, it's like, oh, he killed your family. You chose to forgive him for some reason. He knows he did it. He's accepting it too. And now you guys have a kid. It's like, where is the moments where that
makes sense?
Yeah. So that's why I give it a 1, because there really is no storyline for me.
Yeah. Personally, this book just wasn't it for me. My overall rating, the overall Brews rating is a 2 out of 5 stars for me.
Mine made it a 1.6 out of 5.
Okay. 1.6.
So relatively close.
Yeah. We're about close.
So I guess, I mean, I could bring it up to a 2. A 2 out of 5.
I think what made it a little bit of a difference was the writing style. I put 3 out of 5. So I kind of gave it a little bit of a bump.
Yeah.
But
so
yeah.
First ever Brews review, Sanctuary of the Shadow, is a 2 out of 5.
2 out of 5. It's a good, okay book. Listen, at least for me, it's not the book that I like will be telling everyone that they should read and they should like, yes, please read this. Like the way that I am with like my cozy books with Emily Henry. For this, it's just not my cup of tea. And I can acknowledge that it's not the book for me, but maybe someone else has just read this and they're like, yes, this is my book. I will say, and I have my laptop pulled up, so let me just Sorry. I'm pretty sure I also saw people rating this a 3 out of 5. And I think on Goodreads it's a 3 out of 5. I kind of was trying to hold off from reading from this, but um but on Goodreads it's a 3 out of 5, and on Amazon I see it as a 3.7 out of 5.
That's a little too high for me.
Yeah, for you. I don't know. I guess if you enjoy more smut, then this is the book for you. It definitely has those steamy moments, not like in every other chapter, but there are certainly at least like 5 moments that I can think of that there is just pure smut.
Yep.
So if that's what you enjoy, I think this book is definitely up your alley. I don't know. I just don't really see this as like, I also don't really see this as like the best smut though. I don't know. But to each their own. To those who read it and really enjoy it, I really would like to know like what made you love it so much. Maybe there's something that I missed or something that we missed when we were reading it that we just didn't really understand. But honestly, I will say this. If you enjoyed this book, I would give Aurora Asher, like, look her up. She has like her social media. She has it as, and I'm reading this from the acknowledgements. It's at aurora.asher.author. So check her out. Like,
and where's that at?
Huh?
Where's that at?
Oh, it just says come find me on social media, and then she has it in parentheses. So I'm assuming that's her overall handle for all social media platforms. So that's something to keep in mind if you really enjoyed it. As I said, this is not just her first and only book. There is going to be a second one where it is about Mal and her going back to the homeland. So if you're interested in keeping up with that, go give Aurora Asher a follow. That way, you know, you can keep up to date with her and know when that second book is going to come out. I'll be honest, I won't be reading the second book. I don't have the need to want to read it. I think I'm okay leaving this book off. Yeah. How I finished
reading. Now, if it comes out and it's one that everybody's raving about,
I'll give it a try.
Well, yeah, we'll visit it just because we already read this one, and it's like, hey, it'll be a good tie back to the first ever series, you know. Yeah. So.
And I will say, it's like there's some books where maybe the first book of an author is not like the one that really resonates with me, but maybe their second or third book is one that actually will.
No, and we've mentioned that throughout the episodes that we've put out. This is Aurora's debut novel, so obviously, you know, there is some criticism that we gave, but at the end of the day, it's her debut. It's how she's starting off. And it could always, you know, it's your first one. It only goes up from here.
That's true.
Right.
And, you know, we're just 2 little book readers.
Yeah. We're not experts or anything.
Yeah, we are literally not experts. There's a reason why this book got published. So it just wasn't our cup of tea, unfortunately. No. And if our thoughts or criticisms seem very harsh at times, I'm sorry.
It's just our opinions.
Yeah, it's just our opinions.
And like like for books, it's like your thing. So you're very passionate about that stuff. And I'm just a passionate reviewer. Like even in movies and stuff like that. Like I feel like I'm very, very, I criticize. Yeah. A lot, or I rave about something a lot if I really like it. So it's just something that comes out for both of us as very passionate, you know. It's something we like, we enjoy, so it's gonna come out with a strong opinion.
Exactly. Again, we may not have liked it, but again, someone else out there very much will or may, and to each their own. So that was it for Sanctuary of the Shadow. Now next month, I am so stoked. I've been saying this all day. I am so happy that next month we're reading The Fourth Wing. Because I've been hearing so much about it. I've heard so many people, both online and like in person,
Yeah.
where people are talking about the fourth wing.
Like the fact that it took you a while to find a copy is
I know, because
surprising.
yeah, for one of my so when I used to work at my job, I had a coworker who, he told me, he's like, hey, have you read this book? And I was like, no. And he told me, or he's like, have you read The Fourth Ring? And I told him no, but I think I've heard of it. He said, yeah, well, apparently it's very popular right now, but it's very hard to find. And I think that very same weekend we went to the bookstore here nearby called Writer's Block Bookstore, and I magically found one copy. It was the one and only copy there was, and I bought it immediately. And then when I went to go buy the second copy so that you can have yours to read, it was again the one and only copy. They already have the second book out, which I'm like, geez, I feel like The Fourth Ring just came out, and now what is it? I think Iron Flame is the same name of the second book. I think. Don't quote me, sorry, but it's already out. Jeez, there's so much to catch up. But again, The Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. We're reading that next month. And the first set of chapters that we'll be reading is chapters 1 through 10. So buy the book, whether that be online at your local bookstore, preferably if you can. But if you can't, completely understandable. I get it. Prices out here are very tough. But if you can purchase at a local bookstore, please do. Or try to get it on Libby, on the Libby app, get it, electronically, just read it on your phone, or even, purchase the ebook online. But again, chapters 1 through 10 next week for The Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Yeah. And
I'm stoked about it too, because it's very How to Train Your Dragon-esque. So from what I've read on the blurb, now, the one thing Sanctuary of the Shadow did teach me is to not go off the blurb. Yeah. I had way too high expectations after I read the blurb. So I'm not going just off of that. Now, I did read on the blurb for The Fourth Ring that there is lovers. So I'm already expecting stuff, right? And you've told me. But hopefully it's not as bad as it was in this. Like, bad as in, like, it's 3 chapters long. Like if it's like spread out, sure, as long as it's like spread out and just quick in the chapters, whatever. I just don't want to be reading 3 chapters at a time, especially in a book like this long where you have to read 10 chapters at a time.
Oh yeah, for this,
I don't want 1/3 of it being smut.
Yeah, because The Fourth Wing is like 100, almost like 100 more pages. Yeah. Than Sanctuary of the Shadows. It's a chunkier book. Yeah. And so the chapters that we're reading, I think. I'm always leaving the last chapter to be like only a couple little bits. Yeah. But a lot of the chapters that we're reading are like 10 to 12 chapters long. So they're a little bit longer, but I do feel like because this one is a little bit chunkier, it has more plot. It has more opportunity. More opportunity for plot. Yeah. More opportunities for plot. But I do feel like this one,
I hope so.
I have really high expectations from what I've been hearing. So I'm hoping that this is going to be a really good one. Yeah. I'm excited for it.
Like I already opened up the front. I saw the little map it has too and stuff.
There's
and I'm
2
like,
maps.
There's 2?
I think there's 2.
Nice.
But we'll get into that next week.
I'm fully expecting, like, I already have How to Train Your Dragon in my mind. Yeah. And I'm fully expecting this to open up with, this is Berk. Like I want them to introduce the island like that and all that stuff. So I'm very excited for that too.
I feel like this, and it says it in the book, I feel like this may be How to Train Your Dragon, but brutal. Adult
version of How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah. So I'm stoked. Yeah. So I guess we'll continue this conversation next week, obviously, when we actually read it. But
is that next week already?
Yeah, that is next week. Next week. Next week.
Oh wow, yeah. Yeah. It's the 24th when we're recording this. So yeah, next week already. Wow. All right. Well, that was Sanctuary of the Shadow. 2 out of 5 for us. Obviously, go read it. Make your own opinion about it. Let us know. Go to our socials. Let us know what you think.
We'll leave all our social media in the description because I feel like it's a little bit different. And Instagram is the Book Nook Brews. And then everywhere else, it should just be Book Nook Brews.
Yeah. But yeah, excited for the next month, and I guess we'll see you then.
We'll see you then. Bye bye.
See you.